The morning sun rose over the fields of Hambit 7, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Jisoo wiped sweat from her brow as she checked the nutrient levels in the hydroponic tanks. At 19, she knew the farm systems better than anyone else in her family. Jisoo, come inside for breakfast, her mother called from their simple home. The house was small but sturdy, built to withstand the harsh winds that sometimes swept across the colony. 5 more minutes, Jisoo answered. The tomato levels are off again. She turned a dial and adjusted the flow rate, watching as the green liquid moved through clear tubes to feed the plants. Jisoo loved how the system worked. Everything connected, everything in balance. It reminded her of the stars at night, all part of something bigger. Hambit 7 was just one small human colony at the edge of explored space. The big ships from Earth rarely came this far. When they did, they brought supplies and took away the food that colonies like Hambit 7 grew for the rest of humanity. Jisoo's father limped into the growing room. His bad leg was from the last Vulcan pirate raid 3 years ago. The Coalition sent a message, he said, his face serious. There are Vulcan ships spotted near our sector again. Jisoo's hands tightened on the control panel. What are they going to do about it? Her father shook his head. They say a patrol ship will come in 4 days. 4 days? The Vulcans could be here tomorrow. I know, her father said softly. The farm leaders are meeting tonight to talk about what we can do. The warning sirens woke Jisoo in the middle of the night. She jumped from her bed and ran to the window. In the distance, streaks of light shot across the dark sky, the sign of ships entering the atmosphere. Jisoo, her father was already dressed. Get to the community shelter. Now. She grabbed her boots and jacket. What about the farm? The systems need to be protected or... Forget the farm. We need to protect ourselves. But as Jisoo ran with her parents toward the colony's central shelter, her mind was racing. The irrigation control center was on the way. If the Vulcans landed where they usually did, near the North Fields. I have an idea, she said suddenly, stopping in her tracks. Dad, get Mom to the shelter. I need to try something. Jisoo, no, her mother cried. Trust me, Jisoo said, already running toward the control center. I know what I'm doing. Inside the small building, Jisoo's fingers flew across the control panels. She had spent years learning these systems. Now she rerouted water from all sectors to the North Field tanks, overriding safety protocols. Through the window, she could see the first Vulcan ship landing. Tall, armored figures emerged, their weapons glinting in the moonlight. They always came for the same things: food, medicine, and sometimes people. Jisoo hit the final command. Across the North Fields, hundreds of high-pressure irrigation sprayers activated at once, but instead of their usual gentle mist, they shot powerful jets of water mixed with fertilizer. The surprised Vulcans were knocked off their feet, their electronic weapons shorting out in the chemical-laden water. It worked, Jisoo whispered, watching the confusion. She didn't see the second ship until it was too late. It landed right behind the control center. Jisoo ducked as the building shook. A window shattered. She crawled under a desk, heart pounding. Heavy footsteps approached. Jisoo closed her eyes. Then came the sound of laser fire, but not from Vulcan weapons. Jisoo opened her eyes to see a wounded human in a Coalition uniform standing in the doorway. That was some quick thinking, kid, the officer said, leaning against the wall. Blood stained her uniform. You just saved a lot of lives. The irrigation system, Jisoo explained. I just used what we had. The officer studied her with interest. What's your name? Jisoo. Well, Jisoo, when we get out of this mess, we should talk about your future. The Coalition needs people who can think like you just did. Outside, more Coalition ships appeared in the sky. The Vulcans began to retreat. Jisoo looked at the officer, then at the stars visible through the broken window. For the first time, those stars didn't feel so far away. 3 months after the Vulcan attack, Jisoo stood at the viewing window of the Coalition transport ship. Earth grew larger as they approached. She had never seen anything so blue and beautiful. "First time seeing Earth?" asked Commander Ta-won, the same officer who had found Jisoo during the raid. Her wound had healed, leaving only a scar on her shoulder. "First time seeing any planet besides Hambit 7, Jisoo admitted. Leaving home had been hard. Her parents were proud but scared. "The Coalition needs smart people," her father had said, hugging her goodbye. "Show them what farm people can do." The transport ship landed at the Coalition Academy, a massive complex of gleaming buildings. Jisoo followed Ta-won through busy halls, filled with students in neat uniforms. Everyone seemed to know exactly where they were going and what they were doing. Jisoo felt small in her simple clothes from home. "These are your quarters," Ta-won said, stopping at a door. "Classes start tomorrow. Your schedule is on your desk." "Thank you," Jisoo said quietly. Ta-won paused. "It won't be easy, Jisoo. Most cadets here come from military families or top schools. But remember, you earned your place." Jisoo sat at the back of the tactical simulation room. The instructor, Captain Jun, pointed at a display showing enemy ship movements. "Who can tell me the best formation to counter this attack?" he asked. Several hands went up. Jisoo kept hers down. "Cadet Min," Captain Jun called on a tall boy. "Standard defensive shield formation, sir," Min answered confidently. "Good. That's the textbook answer." Jisoo frowned. She saw a problem with that approach but was too nervous to speak. Later, in the simulation test, cadets worked in teams to defend against attack scenarios. When Jisoo's team used the standard formation, they lost quickly. "That formation doesn't work if the enemy ships move like this," Jisoo said, pointing at the screen. "It reminds me of pest patterns in crop fields." Her teammates stared at her. "Pests," one laughed. "We're talking about warships, farm girl." Jisoo's face burned with embarrassment, but she continued. "When beetles attack crops, they come in waves that look random but follow patterns based on wind and plant growth. These ships are doing the same thing." No one listened. They ran the simulation again and lost again. The third time, Jisoo quietly took control. She arranged their ships in a pattern that farmers on Hambit 7 used to plant crops to resist beetle swarms. They won. Captain Jun came to their station. "Interesting approach, cadet." "Jisoo, sir. Where did you learn this formation? It's not in our textbooks." "It's how we protect crops on my colony, sir." Some cadets snickered, but Captain Jun nodded thoughtfully. Weeks passed. Jisoo spent her free time studying twice as hard as everyone else. She had to catch up on years of education the other cadets already had. One night, working late in the simulation lab, she looked up to find Commander Ta-won watching her. "You missed dinner again," Ta-won said, placing a food container on Jisoo's desk. "Thank you. I need to finish this assignment." Ta-won looked at Jisoo's work, a battle strategy that used farming irrigation patterns to control enemy movement. "You see things differently," Ta-won said. "That's valuable. The Coalition has plenty of officers who think by the book. We need some who don't." "The others don't think so," Jisoo said. "They call me farm girl like it's an insult." "Let them," Ta-won smiled. "One day they'll be serving under you, and they'll understand what I already see." "What's that?" "That sometimes the best way to grow a garden is to break new ground." Ta-won tapped Jisoo's simulation. "Keep working. I want to see where this leads." For the first time since arriving at the academy, Jisoo felt like she might belong among the stars after all. Jisoo adjusted her new officer's uniform as she stood before the airlock of the CSS Sapling. The patrol vessel was small compared to most Coalition ships, but to Jisoo it was enormous. This would be her first real posting since graduating from the academy. "Lieutenant Jisoo reporting for duty," she said, saluting the officer waiting at the entrance. Lieutenant Du Hyun, executive officer. He replied with a stiff nod. Welcome aboard. The captain is waiting. Jae-soo followed him through narrow corridors. The inside of the ship reminded her of the tight spaces in Hambit 7's hydroponics buildings. The captain was an older man with kind eyes but a serious face. Lieutenant Jae-soo, your academy records are impressive. Top marks in tactical innovation, though below average in standard protocols. Yes, sir, Jae-soo said. The sapling has a simple mission. Patrol the outer sectors and show the coalition flag. I'm retiring soon, and command says you're to learn command procedures under me. He studied her face. Do you think you're ready? I'll do my best, sir. Good answer. Meet your team and get settled. We leave orbit in 3 hours. The crew of the sapling was small but skilled. Besides Du Hyun, who clearly doubted Jae-soo's abilities, there was Soo Mai, the quiet but brilliant engineer, and Han Bin, the security chief who followed every rule exactly. Farm girl to officer in record time. Du Hyun said during Jae-soo's first meal in the crew area. You must have important friends. Commander Ta-won supported me, Jae-soo admitted. But I earned my place. We'll see, Du Hyun said. 2 weeks into their patrol, an emergency signal came from Research Outpost 37. Vulcan ships approaching, the captain announced on the bridge. 3 vessels, heavily armed, were ordered to assist. Jae-soo felt a chill. The same raiders who had attacked her home. Sensors show we're outgunned, Du Hyun reported. Standard protocol is to call for backup and monitor from a safe distance. The captain nodded grimly. Send the distress call. Backup is 4 hours away at best. Jae-soo stepped forward. Sir, the outpost won't last 4 hours. We can't engage 3 Vulcan ships directly, Lieutenant. That would be suicide. Jae-soo took a deep breath. Sir, I have an idea. On Hambit 7, we use crop rotation to protect against pests. We could apply the same principle here. The captain raised an eyebrow. Explain. Jae-soo moved to the tactical display. Instead of facing them together, we separate them. Vulcans always follow the richest target. If we make the outpost look less valuable and the sapling more interesting, we can lead them away one by one. That's not standard procedure, Du Hyun objected. Let her finish, the captain said. Jae-soo outlined her plan. The sapling would use its small size to hide in the outpost's sensor shadow, then create false signals to separate the Vulcan ships. Then they would pick them off one by one, using the tight spaces between the outpost's structures. It's like weeding a garden, Jae-soo explained. You don't pull all weeds at once. You isolate each one to remove it properly. The captain was silent for a long moment. It's risky. Yes, sir, but so is doing nothing. 2 hours later, Jae-soo watched as the last Vulcan ship exploded into space dust. Her plan had worked perfectly. The sapling had damage to its lower hull, but everyone was alive. And the outpost was safe. Outpost 37 sends their thanks, Soo Mai reported from communications. They're calling us heroes. In his captain's chair, the old captain smiled at Jae-soo. Not bad for a first engagement, Lieutenant. Even Du Hyun looked impressed. I've never seen anyone outthink Vulcans like that. Jae-soo looked at the tactical display, where the debris of the enemy ships floated in space. Sometimes you need to see the battlefield like a garden. Everything grows according to patterns, even attacks. The captain nodded slowly. I think command will be very interested in your gardening techniques, Lieutenant Jae-soo. Very interested indeed. Jae-soo stood on the bridge of the CSF Harvest, her hands clasped behind her back. The ship was 3 times larger than the sapling, with a crew of 87. And now, they all looked to her as captain. Course is set for the silo system, Captain, said the navigation officer. Thank you. Proceed at standard speed, Jae-soo replied, trying to sound confident. It had been 2 years since the battle at Research Outpost 37. Word of Jisu's unusual tactics had spread through the coalition. Her farming strategies, as they were sometimes called with amusement, had saved lives in 3 more encounters. Now, at just 24, she was the youngest captain in the coalition fleet. But as Jisu sat in the captain's chair, she wondered if she deserved to be there. That night in her quarters, Jisu studied the mission details again. The Tylos were a plant-like species who rarely dealt with humans. The coalition needed their help now that tensions with the Arkan Dominion were rising. The Arkans were powerful. Their ships had technology far beyond human understanding. If war came, the coalition would need all the allies it could find. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter," Jisu called. Her first officer, Dajung, stepped in. He was older than Jisu by 15 years, with experience she respected. "The crew is talking, Captain," he said. "They wonder if you're ready for this mission." Jisu sighed. "They're not alone. I wonder too." "You shouldn't," Dajung said. "I've served under 5 captains. None had your way of seeing problems." "Thank you," Jisu said. "But this isn't fighting Velkans. This is diplomacy." Dajung smiled. "From what I hear, you grew more than just crops on Hambit 7. That Silo's homeworld was covered in forests of giant blue trees. The landing party from the harvest stood before 3 Silos representatives. They looked like tall, slender trees with branch-like arms and glowing spots that pulsed as they spoke. "We welcome coalition visitors," the center Silos said, its voice musical and strange. "Though we do not understand why you seek alliance now." Jisu stepped forward. "The Arkan Dominion threatens all free species. We believe working together makes us all stronger." "The Arkans have not troubled us," the Tylos replied. "Why should plant kind concern itself with conflicts between animals?" Jisu was about to answer when alarms sounded from their shuttle. The communication officer rushed over. "Captain, 3 Arkan ships just entered the system. They're jamming our signals to the harvest." Jisu's mind raced. The Arkans must have followed them. If they attacked during negotiations, the Tylos would never join the coalition. "We need to get back to the ship," Dajung urged. Jisu looked at the Tylos, then at the forest around them. A memory from home flashed in her mind. How certain plants protected others by providing shade or nutrients. "No," she said. "We stay." Jisu turned to the Tylos. "You asked why plant kind should care about animal conflicts. On my homeworld, we studied how plants work together. Some trees give nutrients to smaller plants. Some plants warn others of danger." The Tylos's lights pulsed faster, showing interest. "In farming, we call this symbiosis," Jisu continued. "Different species helping each other survive. The Arkans don't understand this. They take whatever they want." The Tylos leaned closer. "You speak in ways we understand, human captain. But words are easy. Show us this symbiosis." Jisu pointed to the sky, where the first Arkan ship was now visible. "Let us protect your world together. Let me use your forest communication network to contact my ship. In return, we'll share our shield technology with you." The Tylos were silent for a long moment. Then the center one extended a branch-like hand to Jisu. "A fair exchange of resources, like root systems sharing water. We accept." For the first time since becoming captain, Jisu felt truly certain. This was exactly where she was meant to be. 3 years had passed since the Tylos mission. Jisu stood on the bridge of the destroyer CSF Rainfall, watching the stars through the main view screen. The war with the Arkan Dominion was going badly for the coalition. "Status report," Jisu said, her voice calm despite the tension in the air. 3 more colonies lost this week, Captain," her tactical officer replied. "The Arkans are pushing through Sector 7 faster than we predicted." Jisu nodded. She was no longer the uncertain young captain she had been on the harvest. At 27, her reputation had grown. Some officers respected her unusual tactics. Others thought she took too many risks. Any word from Hambit 7? She asked quietly. Her communications officer looked down. I'm sorry, Captain. The colony fell 2 days ago. The Archons took control before evacuations were complete. Jisu's face showed no emotion, but her hands tightened on the railing. Her parents, her home. Were they safe? Captured? Dead? There was no way to know. Thank you, she said simply. Continue monitoring coalition channels. In her private quarters that night, Jisu studied the star maps. The Archon ships were faster and more powerful than anything the coalition had. In a direct fight, human ships always lost. We can't beat them with strength, she whispered to herself, so we must use their strength against them. She thought of the drought years on Hambit 7, when water was scarce. Plants stretched their roots too far looking for water, making them weak. The Archons were doing the same thing, moving too quickly, stretching their supply lines thin. The next morning, Jisu called her senior officers to the briefing room. I'm proposing a new strategy, she said, activating the display table. We call it the drought strategy. Her officers looked confused. Instead of trying to hold planets, we evacuate them. Jisu explained. We pull back, let the Archons advance quickly. Every planet they take requires resources to control. You want to give up our colonies? Her security chief asked, shocked. Temporarily, Jisu replied. The Archons are like plants that grow too fast in good conditions. They'll overextend. Then we target their supply ships. This will be unpopular with command, her first officer warned. And the colonies won't like being sacrificed. Jisu nodded. I know. But sometimes on the farm, you have to let one field go to save the rest. 6 months later, Jisu stood in a coalition command briefing room on Earth. Admirals and generals stared at her with mixed expressions. Captain Jisu, said Admiral Park, his face stern. Your drought strategy has cost us 12 colonies. Yes, sir, Jisu replied. It has also cost the Archons 28 supply convoys and 7 major warships, Admiral Park continued. Their advance has stopped completely in 3 sectors. A murmur went through the room. The human cost has been high, a general said. The evacuations weren't always complete. People were left behind. Jisu felt the weight of those words. Every loss weighs on me, sir, but without this strategy, we would have lost much more. Admiral Park nodded slowly. The Coalition Council agrees. That's why they've approved the next phase of your plan. He pressed a button, and a new star map appeared. Battle Group Cultivator, he said. 15 ships under your command, newly promoted Admiral Jisu. Jisu stared at the display in shock. The drought is ending, Admiral Park said. Now it's time to show the Archons what happens when humans decide to harvest. As the meeting ended, Jisu heard officers whispering as she passed. The harvester, they called her. She wasn't sure if it was a compliment or a criticism. Either way, she would bear it. For Earth, for Hambit 7, for all the stars that humans called home. Admiral Jisu walked through the main hall of Coalition Command on Earth. Officers and staff stopped to watch her pass. Some saluted with respect. Others whispered behind their hands. The harvester, they said. The name followed her everywhere now. Jisu no longer wore her hair in the simple style of Hambit 7. It was cut short for efficiency. Her face had grown leaner, her eyes sharper. At 28, she was the youngest admiral in Coalition history. In the large meeting room, the Coalition's highest commanders waited. Admiral Park nodded as she entered. Admiral Jisu, he said. Your battle group Cultivator has won 3 important battles in the past month. The Archons are on the defensive for the first time. Thank you, sir, Jisu replied. But they are adapting to our tactics. We need to change our approach again. What do you suggest? Asked General Lee, who had always doubted Jisu's methods. I want to form a special team, Jisu said. Not military experts. I want people from farming colonies across human space. The room grew quiet. General Lee laughed. farmers, to fight the Archons. Jisoo faced him calmly. The Archons understand traditional military strategy. They expect us to think like soldiers. They don't understand how farmers think. Admiral Park studied her. Explain. Every colony faces different challenges. Different soils, climates, pests. Farmers develop unique solutions. Jisoo activated the room's display, showing images of various farming techniques. This diversity of thinking is our strength. To her surprise, Admiral Park nodded. You have 2 weeks to form your team and develop new strategies. Choose whoever you need. Jisoo's new think tank gathered in a simple room filled with plants from across human colonies. 20 people from different farming worlds sat around a large table. Most had never been to Earth before. I'm not a military person, said Sunok, an older woman from a rice farming colony. Why am I here? Jisoo smiled. Because you developed a new irrigation system that saved your colony during a 10-year drought. That kind of thinking is exactly what we need. She turned to the others. All of you solved problems on your worlds that no one thought could be solved. Now we have a bigger problem. The Archons. What can farmers do against warships? Asked Jeho, a young man from a cattle colony. Jisoo activated a holographic display showing battle formations. Look at this not as ships in space, but as elements in a field. How would you arrange crops to protect against wind damage? Slowly, the farmers began to understand. They moved the ship formations, applying their knowledge in new ways. Sunok pointed to supply lines. This reminds me of nutrient cycling in soil. If we redirect resources here and here, the whole system becomes stronger. Jeho studied defensive positions. On our world, we plant certain crops together because they help each other grow. You could position ships the same way. Days passed. The room filled with ideas drawn from generations of farming knowledge. Jisoo watched as 3 core concepts emerged. Nutrient cycling for resource management, companion planting for fleet formations, controlled burning for strategic retreats. When Admiral Park visited to check their progress, he found Jisoo surrounded by farmers arguing excitedly over star maps and battle plans. Are you ready? He asked. Jisoo handed him a data pad with their new battle doctrines. We've created something the Archons will never expect, sir. Admiral Park reviewed the plans, his eyebrows rising. This is unlike anything I've seen in 40 years of service. That's the point, Jisoo said. The Archons understand war. They don't understand farming. 1 week later, Battlegroup Cultivator, using the new companion planting formation, won the first decisive victory against the Archon fleet at the Battle of Proxima Centauri. The tide of war had begun to turn. The Coalition war room buzzed with excitement. The large display showed green markers pushing back red ones across multiple star systems. 6 months had passed since Jisoo's farming strategies were implemented fleet-wide, and the Archons were retreating. Another victory in the Ta sector, announced a communications officer. Admiral Min's fleet reports minimal losses. Admiral Park nodded with satisfaction. That's the 5th major victory this month. Jisoo studied the map carefully. She was now 30, with thin scars on her hands from a bridge explosion 3 battles ago. Her uniform bore the highest honors the Coalition could give, but she rarely noticed them anymore. The Archons are adapting, she said, pointing to movement patterns. See how they've changed their formations here and here. They're studying our methods. Admiral Park frowned. Can we counter? We already are, Jisoo replied. Every Coalition fleet is now paired with advisors from different farming colonies. They each handle battles differently, like farmers adjusting to different soils. Brilliant, Admiral Park said. The Archons can't adapt to strategies that keep changing. Jisoo nodded, but worry lined her face. We're winning, but not fast enough. We need to push harder before they find a way to counter all our approaches. A week later, Jisoo's shuttle descended toward the surface of a newly liberated colony. Through the window, she could see buildings damaged by Archon occupation, but people were already rebuilding. "Are you sure about this visit, Admiral?" asked her security chief. "We're still finding Arkan sympathizers on these planets." "I need to see what we're fighting for," Jisoo replied simply. As she walked through the colony's main street, people gathered to see the famous harvester. Children peeked from behind their parents. Some people cheered. Others looked tired and uncertain. An old man approached Jisoo. "You look like a soldier, but they say you think like a farmer." Jisoo smiled. "I am a farmer. From Hambit 7. The old man's eyes widened. "Hambit 7. My cousin settled there. The Kim family." Jisoo's heart raced. "My neighbor. Do you know if they—" "Many escaped before the Arkans took full control," the old man said. "Some are on Earth now, others on New Haven Colony." Hope flared in Jisoo for the first time in years. If the Kims had escaped, perhaps her parents had too. The next morning, Jisoo received the news she had been waiting for. "Hambit 7 has been liberated, Admiral," her communications officer reported. "Coalition forces secured it yesterday." Within hours, Jisoo's shuttle was racing toward her home colony. As they approached, she could see the damage from orbit. Large sections of farmland had been burned. Many buildings were destroyed. On the ground, the smell of home hit her first, soil and plants, even among the destruction. Coalition troops saluted as she passed. Colonists stared in wonder at the famous admiral who had once been just a farm girl from their world. At the edge of her family's farm, Jisoo stopped. The hydroponics buildings were damaged but standing. And there, checking the systems, was her father. He looked older, thinner. His bad legs seemed worse. But he was alive. "Dad," Jisoo called, her voice breaking. He turned, eyes widening in disbelief. "Jisoo." They ran to each other, embracing amid the ruins of their farm. "Mom?" Jisoo asked fearfully. "Safe," he assured her. "Helping at the medical center. We heard about you. The harvester, they call you." Jisoo looked around at her damaged home world. "We're pushing them back, Dad. All across human space." Her father smiled through tears. "I knew you would. You always understood that growing things takes patience and the right timing." Jisoo's communicator beeped. Admiral Park's voice came through. "Admiral Jisoo, return to command immediately. The Council has made a decision. You're being given command of half the coalition fleet for a major offensive." Jisoo looked at her father, then at the stars above. "It's time to bring in the harvest," she said. 400 coalition ships moved through space in perfect formation. At the center, aboard the flagship CSF Earth's Bounty, Admiral Jisoo stood before a huge tactical display. Officers worked quietly around her, each focused on their tasks. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Captain Daejung, who had served with Jisoo since her days on the Harvest. Jisoo nodded. "Begin approach to Arkan space." After 3 years of fighting, the coalition had pushed the Arkans back to their own territory. Now they were approaching the Arkan homeworld itself. If they could capture it, the war would end. But it wouldn't be easy. The planet was surrounded by defense platforms that no coalition ship had ever broken through. 20 fleet admirals had studied the problem and declared it impossible. Jisoo wasn't convinced. Nothing was impossible if you looked at it differently. "Show me the latest scans," she ordered. The display zoomed in on the Arkan defense network. Thousands of automated weapons platforms formed a sphere around the planet. Any ship that approached would be destroyed in seconds. "We've identified the control stations here, and here," Daejung said, pointing to 3 larger platforms. "But we can't get close enough to target them." Jisoo studied the display, thinking of winters on Hambit 7. She remembered how seeds survived the freezing temperatures by going dormant until spring. "What if we don't try to break through?" she said quietly. "What if we go dormant instead?" The room fell silent. "Dormant, Admiral?" Daejung asked. Jisoo pointed to a dense field of comets and asteroids near the planet. "There. We hide small strike teams in the debris. like seeds waiting for the right conditions. Understanding dawned on Daejung's face. The Arkans would never expect an attack from inside their defense network. Exactly, Jisoo said. But we need a distraction. Something big enough to draw their attention outward while our teams slip through. She looked around the command room at the officers waiting for her orders. I will lead the main fleet in a direct approach. It will look like we're attempting to break through by force. A suicide mission, one officer said quietly. A necessary risk, Jisoo corrected. Our seeds can't sprout if the ground isn't prepared. 2 days later, Jisoo stood on the bridge of Earth's bounty as the massive fleet approached the Arkan defenses. Behind her, Daejung supervised final preparations. Strike teams are in position, hidden in the comet field, he reported. They're ready on your signal. Jisoo took a deep breath. Begin the attack. The coalition fleet surged forward. Immediately, the Arkan defenses came alive, filling space with deadly energy beams and missiles. Maintain formation, Jisoo ordered as the first coalition ships exploded. All power to forward shields. For 30 minutes, the battle raged. Coalition ships fell one by one, but they kept advancing, drawing more and more of the Arkan defenses toward them. On the tactical display, Jisoo watched as the hidden strike teams began to move, using the comets as cover. They were nearly at the control stations. Suddenly, a massive blast rocked Earth's bounty. Jisoo was thrown across the bridge as warning alarms screamed. Direct hit to the main reactor. Someone shouted, "We're losing power." Jisoo pulled herself up, blood streaming from a cut on her forehead. Status of the strike teams. They've reached the targets, Daejung reported, helping her to her feet. They're planting the charges now. Another explosion shook the ship. Hull breach alarms sounded across all decks. We need to evacuate, Admiral, Daejung urged. Jisoo looked at the tactical display one last time. The strike teams were in place. Everything was ready. Send the activation signal, she ordered. Then evacuate the ship. As crew members rushed to escape pods, Jisoo sent a final message to all coalition forces. The seeds are planted. Now watch them grow. Moments later, explosions bloomed across the Arkan defense network as all 3 control stations detonated simultaneously. The defense platforms went dark, opening a clear path to the Arkan homeworld. The last frost had broken. Spring had come to the stars.